Dr. Deepak, it's a privilege and an honor because both of us from small little beginnings, but your journey has been meteoric and you have risen to the very top, being the president of the association, having your own hospital, and being a towering figure of Bangalore. In spite of all that, a humble request from our side, Dr. Deepak, can you please interact with my postgraduates? You immediately accepted. That is your grace and your graciousness, and to which we are deeply indebted and honored. I thank Dr. Deepak. Warmly welcome to the group, Dr. Deepak Aldipur.
Yes, sir. Sir, just 1 second. Just 1 second. Hello. 1 hour bit ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಮ್ಮ. ಮೂರುವರೆ. Okay. Yeah. Yes, boss.
Dr. Deepak, we have a retinue of 11 postgraduates, all brilliant at various levels of progress, and they badly wanted to interact you. May I call on the first postgraduate, final exam going?
Please.
We will be focusing
Please, sir,
on
please.
this tiny area on stepidotomy. May I ask
Okay,
Dr.
sir.
Amrita to formulate her question to you?
Yeah, please.
Dr. Amrita, please.
Good morning, sir. Am I audible?
Morning.
Sir?
Yeah, very audible. Go
Hello,
ahead
sir.
with the question.
I'm Amrita, sir, and my question today was in stepidotomy. When we do the procedure, what is your method of convenience? Do you first dislocate the inferior stapedial joint, or do you cut the stapedius muscle first?
See, I was trained by Dr. Madhavaya. I still
Yes.
follow the same technique. So what I do is I dislocate the IS joint first and then cut the stapedius tendon.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Because the rationale is when you are dislocating the IS joint, the whole idea is that you don't want to destabilize the
Yes, sir.
stapes. So you follow two principles. One is your knife should move from the promontory side, from back to front in the direction of the tendon of the stapes. Okay? So that way you don't destabilize the stapes. Okay? The movement of your knife should be in that angle only. Yeah. Next question.
Thank you, Dr.
Call on Dr. Vidya, please. Please introduce yourself, where you come from, what is your level of training, and your question.
Good morning, sir. Myself, Vidya. I'm final year postgraduate. I'm from Udupi. My question is, what are the precautionary measures to take reduce the complication in stepidotomy, sir?
See, first of all, for this, you should know what are the complications in a stepidotomy. Number one, you can have a perforation in the tympanic membrane post-surgery. So what you have to do is when you are elevating, you have to take care that you don't use a bigger suction on the tympanic membrane and you don't create a tear when you are elevating the annulus or handling the tympanic membrane. Accidentally, if you create a small perforation, don't neglect it. At the end of your procedure, you can put in a small soft tissue, which you take from the post-oral small nick incision, or you can make a fat tympanoplasty. You can do one of them.
Thank you, Dr. Vidya. May I go on to Dr. Vishnu? Please introduce
No, I think I had to answer the other things. I think that was one of the complications, Devan.
Okay.
The second complication in a stepidotomy is we have what is called as labyrinthitis. Now that happens when your piston is too long or if you have handled the vestibule in a very rough way. And that happens during the procedure of posterior crurotomy. So you have to be very careful in the way you do the posterior crurotomy and also in the way you do make a fenestra. Isn't it? So that is very, very important. And then you also, the other complication you can have is you can accidentally cut the chorda tympani, for which you take care when you're handling the chorda tympani. The other complication, of course, is injury to the facial nerve, when you're not aware that, there has been a decent facial nerve and you try to handle it there. The length of the piston, if you have to err, you have to err on the shorter side. If you err on the longer side, then what happens is a Perlin fistula can form. A membrane may not form on the undersurface of the piston. So these are the complications, and this is the way you avoid. And finally, once you put in the piston, you have to seal the fenestra in the vestibule with soft tissue or gel foam soaked with blood. So these are the things that you do to avoid complications.
Super, super, super. Well explained, Dr. Deepak.
Yeah.
May I on Dr. Nisha?
ರೆಡಿ ಇದೆ ಮ್ಯಾಮ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಚೇಂಜಸ್
ಅದೇ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗಿರ್ಲಿ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ದೇ ಶುಡ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ನಾವು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಹೇಳಿ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲಿಕೇಟೆಡ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಇದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಇದರಿಂದ ಈ ಯೂಸಸ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು. ಇಷ್ಟ ಇದೆ ಬಟ್ ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಟ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಅದೊಂದು ತಿಳಿಸ್ಬೇಕು. ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ನಾ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ಮೆಡಿಕಲ್ ಲೀಗಲ್ಲಿ ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ವಿ ಆರ್ ನಾಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವಿಂಗ್ ಸೌಂಡ್. ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲ ತಲೆ ತಿಂತಾರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅದು ಲೀಗಲ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಏನೋ ಬಂದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಸೈನ್ ಬೇಕು ಆಯ್ತಾ. ಬಟ್ ನಮ್ ಸ್ಟಾಫೇ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತಲೆ ತಿನ್ನಕ್ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ಒಂಚೂರು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಬರ್ಕೊಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಬಟ್ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ನಾನು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಳ್ಸ್ಬಿಡಿ ಹಂಗೇನಾದ್ರು ಇದ್ರೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ ಮಷಿನ್ ಬರ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಇದಾಗ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಒಂದ್ ಗರ್ಲ್ ಶಿಕೆ 22 years ಮಾತ್ರ ಇರೋದು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್. ಓರಲಿ ಶಿ ಇಸ್ ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಸ್ಪೀಕ್ ಬಟ್ ಈ ಈಸ್ ಟೆಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಸಿನ್ಸ್ ಚೈಲ್ಡ್ಹುಡ್ ಒಂಚೂರು ಮಾತಾಡಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಳ್ಸಿದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರು ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಅಂತ ಎಷ್ಟು ಚಂದ ಬರ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ ಸ್ಪೀಚ್ ರೆಸೋನೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಈಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಬರೀರಿ ನನಗೆ ಅದ್ರ ಪವರ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಸಮ್ ಟೈಮ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಇದ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಕಿರಿಕಿರಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
ಇವಾಗ ಸ್ಪೀಚ್ ಕಡೆ ಕೂಡ ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ.
Yeah, please, Dr. Aisha, they're waiting for you.
Hello. Yeah.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Aisha Nahla, second year postgraduate. My question regarding stepidotomy is that what are the criteria which make a candidate ideal for stepidotomy?
Yeah. Number one, these are the candidates who are not comfortable wearing a hearing aid, either because of the personal choice or because of their, social preferences. Because sometimes a young woman may not prefer wearing a hearing aid. So the first criteria, please remember, however adept you are at doing a stepidotomy, however good you are at doing the surgery, this surgery for unexplained reasons, even in the best of the hands, has got about 1% chance of a sudden sensorineural hearing loss or a dead ear. It could be due to undetected subacute endolymphatic eye drops, because you won't be doing what you call MRI in every patient of stapes, or many other reasons. So remember one thing as postgraduates, however confident you are about delivering the result in a stapes, you have to first advise hearing aid. So the first criteria for doing a stepidotomy, patient should not be willing for a hearing aid. The second thing, you have to ensure with your pure tone audiogram as well as your tuning fork tests, which are very important, especially the absolute bone conduction test and the Weber's test, to make sure that there's a good component of conductive hearing loss. The air-bone gap or the bone-air gap on the audiogram should be at least 25 decibels, preferably 30 decibels. And if the patient's audiogram is showing unilateral otosclerosis, you have to be very, very careful, because long-standing unilateral conductive hearing loss on audiometry sometimes can be actually a long-standing SN loss. So the best way to detect that, sometimes even your tuning fork test may not help you. The best test to do is do a proper masking of the opposite ear or the normal ear and give a hearing aid trial to the affected ear. If the patient is hearing very well with the hearing aid, means if the speech discrimination scores and SRT are very good when they wear a hearing aid, then this patient is a very good candidate for stepidotomy or stapedectomy. You can also tell the patient clearly what you heard now with the hearing aid is the result you're going to get after the stepidotomy. Especially in patients who got mixed otosclerosis, where they have a slight dip even in the bone conduction, dip in the air conduction, but there's a good airborne gap of 30 dB mixed hearing loss. This hearing aid trial helps you to also prognosticate to the patient what can be the results they get following a successful stepidotomy. Okay, so whenever you see a picture of unilateral otosclerosis, you should be careful not to miss a long-standing unilateral SN loss, which can easily masquerade as a sensory neural loss on the pure tone audiometry. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
May I ask Dr. Vishnu, please? Can I have Dr. Vishnu talk? In the meanwhile, may I go on to Dr. Panchami?
Hello.
Yeah, Vishnu. Tell me.
Good morning, sir.
Good
Sir,
morning.
my question is, what are the different types of staple surgeries and in which cases these are indicated, sir?
See, basically in a stapes surgery, the basic stapes technique has got two techniques. One is the regular technique and one is the fish technique. What you do as the reverse stepidotomy. If you are a beginner, and generally in terms of safety, what is the worrisome thing for a surgeon in a stapes on the operating table? You don't want to have a floating foot plate or a wobbly foot plate. And when does that usually happen? It happens with only one step, that is the posterior crurotomy. So the best thing for you to do is a fish technique or a reverse stepidotomy, where you first make a fenestra, engage the piston. Once the piston is in place and snugly crimping over the incus, then you do the posterior crurotomy, stapedial tendinotomy, and then out fracture or fracture the superstructure towards the promontory and remove it. Because that is the best solution to avoid a floating foot plate situation. Sometimes this technique cannot be done if the stapes is vertical or it is leaning towards the facial nerve. This can be done in cases where there's a PISA sign, as described by Dr. Velswamy Anand. Where the stapes is tilted towards the promontory, you get very good space on the foot plate, and you can always put the piston first and do all this. In those cases where the stapes is vertical or it is tilted towards the facial nerve, then you cannot do this technique. You have to do the Madhavya technique, which I practice, where you first dislocate the IS joint and then you cut the stapes tendon. Before doing these two, you make a small control hole if you can, not the full fenestra, a small control hole, and then you remove the stapes superstructure, and then you widen this particular hole and then put the piston. And even in cases like obliterative otosclerosis, where you cannot introduce the contraangle burr or your skeeter into the space between the facial nerve and the stapes, you cannot practice fish technique of reverse stepidotomy. Otherwise, for beginners, not affordable to every ENT surgeon in India. So I think that is done by a select few. Okay?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And
Very kind of you, Dr. Deepak, to recognize the stalwarts in the field. May I call upon Panchami? Can I have Dr. Panchami, please? Panchami.
Yes, good morning. This is second year.
morning.
My question for
Yeah.
today is
Yeah.
the prognosis of staphylococcus better or staphyloctomy?
See, if you notice, I think sometime in 1958, John Shea actually invented this technique, isn't it? And over a period of time, from staphylococcus, we have started practicing staphyloctomy. What does it mean? You're using a 2G technology in your mobile phone. Now we have moved to 4G or 5G. Obviously, because 4G or 5G has more advantages than 2G. So we have all moved to small fenestra staphyloctomy so that the chances of sensory neural loss post-operatively is very less. So between the two, staphyloctomy gives better results. Only thing is you have to ensure that your fenestra is big enough for the piston to move comfortably in and out of that fenestra. The only small disadvantage is whenever your fenestra is a little smaller than usual and there is no 2 millimeter space between the piston and the surrounding foot plate, in staphyloctomy you can again have a recurrence of conductive loss, which can always be revised. But otherwise, by and large, staphyloctomy or small fenestra staphyloctomy is preferable to the classical staphyloctomy where you remove the entire foot plate.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I have Dr. Anushri, please?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I'm a second year postgraduate, sir. My question
Yeah.
is, what are the outcomes and success rate of staphyloctomy surgeries?
Yeah. See, according to the textbook, it is about 99%. But when you begin your career, you will hit somewhere around 90. And then as you become a better and better expert, you go on to about 99%. You know, gradually at the peak of your career, maybe when you finish about 7-8 years of your regular staphyloctomy practice, then your results will go closer to 99. For two reasons. One, your technique will get better. And number two, you will also know with experience which cases to abandon in between when you realize it can be a complication. When there's a very bad dehiscent facial nerve, or if you feel the foot plate is very wobbly, things like that when you may abandon. So things which could have added to your failure now get into the list of successes. So your percentage increases because you know which cases not to operate.
Well said. May I have Abhinandan, please? Dr. Abhinandan. Abhinandan. Why the hell? Leave it. Can I have Dr. Rinchin, please? Dr. Rinchin. Dr. Rinchin, are you there? Anyway, we'll wait. Can I have Dr. Pujita?
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, tell me, Pujita.
Yeah.
So, I'm first year postgraduate in ENT. My question is, what type of lasers are used in staphyloctomy and what is found to be effective, sir?
See, the three types of lasers which are being used in staphyloctomy right now. The KTP laser, I think my friend Dr. Ashish Bhumkar uses it. And the diode laser, my friend Dr. Pradeep Kumar uses it. And I myself use a carbon dioxide laser for staphyloctomy. Each laser has its own advantages and disadvantages. The KTP laser and the diode laser came with fibers, and carbon dioxide laser initially was coming only with the micro manipulator. So if you had to vaporize the anterior crust, it was a little difficult. But now carbon dioxide laser is also available in the fiber form. The advantage with KTP laser, it works well when the blood vessels or congestion is better. So if you have a very vascular foot plate, like in obliterative otosclerosis, sometimes in biscuit foot plate, where there's a very, very vascular otospongiotic bone, this laser KTP helps you to, cauterize all those vessels, avascularize them, and the surgery becomes easy because the field becomes clearer. Whereas in carbon dioxide laser doesn't work well on a bloody field. But the advantage with carbon dioxide laser is any liquid medium, especially water, absorbs the laser. So when you're firing the laser on the foot plate, because there is perilymph underneath, the perilymph absorbs the laser. So to that extent, the advantage with carbon dioxide laser is that the chance of causing sensorineural hearing loss are very, very less. So there are three types of lasers. Diode is the least expensive. That is its biggest advantage, because KTP and carbon dioxide laser machines are expensive. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Very clearly. May I have Dr. Chitra, please? Dr. Chitra? Dr. Chitra, are you there? No, we'll wait. Can I have Dr. Rohan, please? Rohan also? Okay. I will ask Dr. Aisha to inquire about Dr. Chitra and Rohan's questions. They have gone for their some other training, ECLS. Can Dr. Aisha please ask Dr. Chitra and Rohan questions?
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Dr. Chitra's question is, what is the post-op care after septotomy?
Step number one, absolute rest in bed for the next 24 hours with the operated ear coming on the top. Step two, you have to avoid, you should give only liquid and semi-solid diets, and the patient should not be allowed to go even to the toilet. You give them a bedpan and they lie down with the head turned towards the operated, away from the operated side. Patient should avoid excessive blowing of the nose, sudden bending forward, lifting heavy weights, and air travel or jumping and skipping for a period of 2 months. And for about 10 days, they can avoid head bath. There is a canal cotton which is removed after the 10th day. But the most important thing is 24 hours of bed rest.
What a clarity of thought. Can I have the next question of Rohan, Dr. Aisha?
Yes. Dr. Rohan's question is, which is more preferred, endoscopic stepidotomy or microscopic stepidotomy?
See, we all come from an era of microscopic stepidotomy. So the thing is, the advantage with microscopic stepidotomy is you can use both your hands when you're doing the procedure. But now my friend Mubarak Khan has invented the endo holder. And with the endo holder, you can use both hands while you're doing stepidotomy. Only thing is when you're doing a microscopic stepidotomy, many times, as my teacher Dr. Madhav has taught me, you have to tilt the head end 30 degrees downwards so that you get a good view of the foot plate area and the facial ridge, and you get the correct angle. With endoscopic stepidotomy, you don't require all that. I am from an era where I was trained in microscopic stepidotomy. Probably I'll end my career doing microscopic stepidotomy. But the future, according to me, is endoscopic stepidotomy. Because the visualization that the endoscope gives, when you see the footplate area, the anterior crus, the tendon, it is simply amazing. The view given by the endoscope, a microscope can never give. So though me and Devan are all from the era where we did microscopic stepidotomies very successfully, but the future belongs to endoscopic stepidotomy. In fact, in the entire gamut of ear surgeries done endoscopically, if you ask me, the way the laparoscope has made a difference to the cholecystectomy, stepidotomy is the surgery which is likely to be the biggest advantage in the endoscopic approach.
Super. Dr. Aisha, can you ask Dr. Abhinandan's question, please?
Dr. Abhinandan's question is, what is the success rate of stepidotomy in restoring hearing?
Yeah, it is. I already answered that question, but I'll repeat it again. 95 to 99% in very mature, successful hands. 1% you cannot, because these are factors out of your control. The simplest example I gave you was subclinical endolymphatic eye drops, which you can detect only if you were to do a gadolinium enhanced MRI scan in every patient of the stapes that you do, which is right now not practical or possible or cost effective.
Dr. Aisha, can you ask Dr. Rinchin's question? I will articulate that.
Which is the most common?
Yeah, please. Yeah, please.
Which is the most commonly used prosthesis in stepidotomy?
Yeah, see, the most common use prosthesis obviously is the Teflon, because it's cost effective, patient friendly, and you can do an MRI or whatever later also. If these patients require an MRI later, a Teflon piston is always far more comfortable, doesn't give artifacts. The second popular this thing which is used is the titanium. I believe now you've got titanium pistons which are MRI compatible also. This is what I heard in the literature. The third, people use what is called as a bucket handle prosthesis, which is also very useful in certain set of people who have a short incus, where the stapes superstructure is leaning towards the facial nerve. The commonest and the most popular in our country remains Teflon.
Thank you, sir.
You know, we read so much from the text, but to get first-hand knowledge from somebody who is actually in the field and doing it day and night, we are indeed privileged and honored to have Dr. Deepak with us in our midst to answer all these queries. Dr. Deepak, on this count, may I request you to give a few words of advice for my postgraduates, how to excel as a postgraduate and evolve in their practice?
See, basically, the first thing is passion. And second, see, medical career is unique in its sense that whatever ambitions we have in the career runs along the human life directly. I may feel that at a particular age, I should have done 200 stapes. But I have to remember that these 200 stapes have to be done on human beings like us. So we can't only think of our ambition in isolation. It has to go with the proper training, passion, and however theoretical it may appear, unless we feel that if I were the patient, what would I do for him or her? And try to translate it to your this thing, it wouldn't be worth it. That way I was very fortunate that in the beginning of my career, I met Dr. Madhevaya, who had a profound influence on me, and then Dr. Kirtane, because I saw that these people, whenever we asked for a clinical advice, they always give proper clinical advice. See, in the exuberance of knowing very good stapedotomy skills, if you don't mandatorily advise a hearing aid fitting to every patient and give them that as the first choice, we are actually cheating ourselves, isn't it? Because over a period of time, if we do 100 successful stapedotomies, our confidence is very high. So we will advise a stapedotomy first. It is not correct. As I explained earlier, 1% chance of SN loss due to unexplained reasons. Ethically, there should always be first advice of hearing aid. Then should come the advice for stapedotomy. Similarly, with so many things, I feel at the end of the day, the postgraduates should learn to enjoy their work. And that will happen only when the passion comes in. Initially, it is difficult for them, but once they start managing small cases, even if it is an adenoidectomy, and once they do the diagnostic endoscopy and see it after 6 months, when they see the nasal passage is very clear, and the gratitude in the patient's eyes compared to any other profession, a lawyer, an engineer, anywhere, this is the only profession where the client, even after paying your fees, is so grateful when the outcome is good. And in a well-done tymparoplasty or well-done stapedotomy, when you see patients hearing well for 35 to 40 years, it is very gratifying. In our own field, in ENT, you imagine a well-done tympanoplasty, if the graft takes up, the result is for life, the closure of the perforation. Compare it to a cardiac bypass or a total knee replacement or a total hip replacement. What is the lifespan of that surgery? They give 12 to 15 years guarantee. And what are the expenses? What is the morbidity? What is the amount of physiotherapy that is advised after those? Compared to that, I think we are fortunate that we are doing the tympanoplasties, we are doing the stapedotomies, especially the chronic ear surgeries. If the results are for a lifetime and they are so cost effective, I think we all should be very happy that we are in ENT. And in future, with the whole market globally going towards jobs which involve hearing. Now, because of our stereophonic hearing only, we are able to conduct this webinar or a conference. All of us are wearing the earphones. So hearing is gaining more and more importance because it will shape so many people's careers. The call center employees, the so many places where it is used. So more and more patients will come to you for restoration of hearing compared to 30 years back or 40 years back when they would neglect one side hearing loss. In fact, Devan and me have seen so many patients not bothered about bilateral hearing loss also. But those times are changing very fast. And it's not enough if we can give a discharge-free ear or if we just get the patient rid of a cholesteatoma. The emphasis will be more and more on maintaining the residual hearing and if possible, add on something to it. I think, during this corona pandemic, we realized so many businesses went out of this thing. So many people lost their jobs. But medical profession, we all had at least some work to do and something to earn, something to make a living. And if you have noticed, clearly after the pandemic, the way people are again looking at doctors has definitely changed. The number of attacks or whatever you hear and see, all these things, everything is reduced. The respect for doctors are again come back. Again, possibly because in this situation, we also took up the challenge and continued doing our duties and we didn't run away. I think it's a medicine continues to be a fantastic branch. This is one branch where you can be reasonably ordinary and make a good, decent living for the rest of your life. I'm not extraordinary. I was never extraordinary. It is just that I learned small things from my seniors, colleagues like Devan, colleagues like all around me, picked up a few points, probably kept on working at it. Basically because I was not talented enough to pick up other hobbies or get other ideas. If I can survive and do well, I think every postgraduate can aspire to do well.
Dr. Deepak, these are touching words. It touched my heart. It's going to touch countless PGs across the country. But I must emphasize that you rose to the very top only by one word, your humility. And that is what we need to recognize, understand, and attempt to inculcate. You were humble from the very beginning. Even though you are at the very top, you're still humble. You had time to spare for us. And I should underline this one word, gratuitous patience. We should underline that. And that is what makes the thing really worthwhile. Dr. Deepak, one last word. You were a fantastic postgraduate, and as a consequence thereof, later your career unfolded in a very successful way. One word of advice to my postgraduate as to how they should be rather as good as you were.
No, see, you were talking about humility. Now we know Thudikam, we know Higginson, we know Toynbee, we know Shuknek. Do we know whether they were white or black, which caste they belonged to, what was their height, what was their color? No. Such great people who invented such things where those instruments' names are carried on the instruments, we don't know them. So tomorrow when I am dead and gone, or when Devan, you are dead and gone, how many will remember us? So what is there to feel very great about whatever little we have done? I think humility should come naturally to all of us. Don't you think so? Because every record is meant to be broken. Every achievement is meant to be improved. So I feel the postgraduates should help people because the profession has so many advantages. I'll give you a simple example before I close my talk. If assume that I am a retired bank manager or something, and I've not done anything for 10 years, and suddenly my wife tells me that somebody wanted to come to you to take an advice about opening a bank account or taking a bank loan. And that day evening, you'll be ready in your best of your dress, make the best of the tea and receive them because you're so happy that somebody has come to take your advice. And this is one profession where you can advise 10 to 20 people every day who listen to you. At my age and your age, people may not listen to you at home. Our children may not listen to us. But these students listen to you, the patients listen to you. And those who listen, their lives become different. I think this is the best job on the planet. I don't see any reason why people should not excel in this. But what is required is passion. See, what innings Virat Kohli plays may look very thrilling for us. But for that poor fellow, it is a job only. He has to work out in the gym. He has to keep himself fit. He has to get his nerves tight to play in front of 90,000 people, 80,000 people. So it is a job for him. It may look scintillating for somebody else. Similarly, for a man who is going on the road, our ear surgeries will look very fascinating. We look like heroes. At the end of the day, it's a job to be done. And the point is relentlessly we have to do it. Day in and day out. Day in and day out. Isn't it? Devan, I'm really honored that for a private practitioner like me, you called me to a medical college and you involved me. Thank you so much.
The other thing that I found in you,
Stalwarts that have allowed you to weave your career path. You have acknowledged all the stalwarts that have weaved your career path. Something truly grateful of you. Your humility and acknowledgement, that's your founding stone. And that is something that we should learn from you, Dr. Deepak.
Thank you very much.
Spent a wonderful 1 hour with us.
Yeah.
Not know how to say my gratitude. Thank you so much, Dr. Deepak. Anything else you have to say?
Anytime your postgraduates want my help, I'm always there. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Wonderful time, Doctor. Thank you so very much. Thank you. God bless.